Welcome to the Wild Hope Rising podcast. We're your hosts, Sunny Kane and Tammy Clotton, and we're so glad you stopped by. We want to help you be wildly you, and believe it or not, you're already her. We invite you to gather around the table with us. We'll help you move through your wilderness season, no matter how you got here. So lean in, let's ignite your purpose, and discover what you're made of. Buckle up, my friend. It's time for Wild Hope.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, ladies. This was like a surprise attack. Tammy did not know I hit record. It was kind of accidental.
So yeah, if you saw my awkward look, that's what it's all about.
It's not surprising, really. I mean, I have fumbles like that often where I'm like, surprise, Tammy, it's about to get crazy, right? So, well, girls, we're so glad to have you back this week. And I'm going to tell you, before we even dive into this conversation, it has been a week, Tammy. Like, it has been a week. I don't know where you're at, but.
Yeah, I've had stuff going on as well. But I'm glad to be here, thankful to be with you ladies, and really looking forward to this conversation today.
Yeah. And ladies, you may have had a week too. And I just want to say, if you've had a week and you're still making time to, allow us to be a part of your week, thank you. We do not take that as like, oh, cool, we have a listener. Like, honestly, we are praying for you. We are praying for you to find this podcast because Tammy and I, we actually believe that God can bring wild hope into the earth and that he can send this message to the north, south, east, and west. And so whether you came from the west or the north or the south or the east, we're thankful that you're here and that you're not allowing life to get in the way in such a way that you don't tune in. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, we're so thankful that you're here. As a matter of fact, Sunny, did you know that we had someone that tuned in to a podcast for the very first time and they chose ours? And
cool.
She just told me how encouraging it was. And so, Vicki, so glad you're here. Love that you tuned in.
Very cool. And actually, Vicki, I think, is going to join us for a concert. If you guys didn't hear a few weeks back, we did Jamie Jamgochin. And great interview, especially if you're in a season, if you deal with chronic illness, she's your gal. Go back on our podcast, find that. She's going to be, for our Northern Nevada ladies, we've got a link to her concert. Come join Tammy and I. We're going to the concert. So we'd love to see you there as well. We can think of it as a Wild Hope meetup.
Right?
Reach out
it's
to
in
us
Sparks,
about
Nevada.
that. Yeah. And if we get people to join us for that, we'll, maybe we grab coffee right beforehand. Well, actually, I can't do coffee that late in the day.
Oh, you're getting that old now, huh?
Thank you very much for calling out my gray hairs. I appreciate you. Well, girls, before we lean in today, Tammy and I we want to talk to you about something. If you did not hear it on our last episode, we want to grow wild hope. That is what this podcast is all about, but we both juggle full-time jobs as well. And as a result of that, what we're realizing is to continue to grow this, we're at the place where we could use a little bit of help because, social media in today's day and age, it is the way to reach women, but we're not finding the ability to get this out there as much as we wanted to with our social media. Because we're working on building this podcast. What kind of person are we looking for? I mean, I know we were talking about passion.
And social media is their jam. They love it. They love to communicate in that way. And they have lots of experience in that. And you're looking for a place to volunteer.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of lady that we're looking for. Someone who loves Jesus and wants to help get the word out to people about this wild hope that they can experience so they can step more fully into the wide open, spacious life.
Yeah. So we're asking you guys to literally come around the table, not just listening now, maybe take a step. So pray about that. If that's you, in the show notes, get in contact with us, whether it's through our website or you meet with us on social media or reach out to Tammy or myself if you happen to know us personally. But we're opening that up and we'd love to add somebody to our team in that way. So with that, we're leaning in, and we started it last week, to our new series, and it is Fresh Sound, New Ground. This is a series all about forward movement.
Yes.
And forward movement can be scary sometimes, can't it?
It can be. It can be. And we're so thankful for your brave, action of showing up just to check it out and see if you're ready for that.
Yeah, exactly. So today we want to talk specifically because if we're going to take new ground in our lives, we've got to lean into that new sound. And we kind of see a sound that happens commonly among women that we don't think is really working for us, okay? And we're just going to speak straight to you today. We see that women are saying yes regularly out of pressure and obligation or people pleasing and stretching themselves beyond their capacity, leaving them depleted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from what truly matters, right?
Yes.
So today, I'm like, we got to get a new sound in this area. We got to dial into what the problem really is here, what's driving it. And we want to talk about what is that costing us by doing this? Because we're so used to this sound. If we don't pause for a minute and say, is there a different sound? Is there a fresh sound on this? We're going to keep getting the same results. And that is literally the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
Right.
So right off the bat, I want you to know just because you can doesn't mean you should.
That is true.
No matter what it is.
We have learned that. There's some things that we wanted to bite off, right? And it was like, no, we should not do that yet. So.
And I always feel a sense of loss with that, right? We talked in the last episode, sometimes we've got really good ideas. Ladies, you have really good ideas in your life, really great things that you'd like to do, add to your life. The problem is sometimes we just start adding all of them and then we burn out or, we live on fumes. It ain't good. So what drives this behavior, this constant I've got to continue to say yes. Let's talk about this. What comes to your mind, Tammy? What is driving our behavior?
Oh, goodness. There are so many things that can drive this. But one of the things is that there's all these good choices and it's like, but I want to do that. I want to add that. It would be fun. It would be, rewarding and all of that. And so I think that there's sometimes that it's driven by that. But I also think yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, all the good choices, we're not always just looking at choices that are, no, I have to add an extra errand. Sometimes when you're saying those choices, I'm like, that's actually a bigger problem for me is more of, I want to add that coffee. I want to do this project. I want to do this thing on social media. I want to take my kids and do this. I want to start meal prepping. I want to start going to the gym. I want to start,
Well, I was thinking about even some things that I want to continue to do for my health. And when I started looking at all the suggestions that are out there, well, you should do this and this and this. Oh my gosh, it started adding up. I'm like, I would be doing this 4 hours a day. Can I really add that in? Because if I took in all of those things, and they're good things for my health, right?
And the honest truth is that too often we're looking at all of those suggestions, thinking that's what it takes. And rather than the pausing that we need to do, we actually just start adding them to our schedules and we can't figure out why we feel overwhelmed, tapped out, whatever. But it's not just the good choices, but sometimes we're driven by other things. And let's get into some of those things, Tammy.
I know that I personally have fallen into the camp of being a people pleaser, wanting people to like me or wanting to be accepted and all of that kind of thing. And so sometimes it really has to do with trying to please someone or not disappoint them. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I mean, when do we not, right? You don't want to let people down or you have a fear attached to, if I don't say yes to this, what will they think of me? You know?
Or this will pass me up if I don't say yes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right, exactly. I've been driving for this for so long. Clearly, it has to be a yes because this is my last opportunity.
Right.
Yeah. And I think there's other kind of things that lead us. It's, I know you've talked openly about even the drive to be the strong one.
Right. Right. And I do. I want, it's not just that I'm wanting people to view me that way. It's because I have a certain part of my personality that does naturally rise to the challenge, when I need to be strong. But then you can get trapped in that, like, oh, but they won't want me to do that because they see me as the strong one, or they can't handle me saying no in that way or letting them down because generally I'm the strong one. And so, yeah, it comes back to that not wanting to disappoint people and even myself because I perceive myself as the strong one.
Oh, yeah. 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 And I think of also how our constant, yes, our overbooked calendars are often also because we use busyness as a form of avoidance. I mean, right?
For
If
sure.
I stack my calendar full, then I will not have to feel XYZ, whether that is grief or whether that is I won't have to address that I'm in a really hard marriage right now, or that what I'm walking through with my family is really difficult, or I can ignore this pain that I feel from my past, that it can just be avoidance. And busyness in our culture can often be just a badge of honor.
You bet.
And I mean, as much as I can, say this gently, but I don't know how to say it. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off and go there. Sometimes that busyness, that badge of honor, is actually your ego driving or a sense of self-importance. And we've got to be careful about this. And I'm preaching to the choir here. Why can I speak to this? Girls, I have been there. My busyness has that badge of honor. When I looked busy and I was productive, it was more impressive to the world.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we do that. And sometimes we're actually putting our kids in a position to get burned out as well because everyone else is saying yes to these, all the sports and all the activities and all the things. And we're stressing our families out too.
Yeah.
So,
I also think of sometimes it's about misplaced identity. And what I mean by that is because we put our worth in what we do, right? We put our worth there. Then if I do more, right? If that is a misplaced identity, if my worth is in what I do, we've got a problem because what you do can go away based on your season of life, based on whatever. And when it goes away, you will suddenly not know who you are. We're saying yes out of misplaced identity. Ladies, your worth is not in what you do. That's not who you are. And that's a message for another day. We could talk about that
totally.
in an hour. Right? But it's also, and this, I've seen this in a lot of people, or in what I am victim to. Okay? Follow me for a second.
What do you mean?
Sometimes we have gotten so used to this, our subconscious mind. I want you to hear me right now, ladies, because I don't think anybody wakes up and says, I'm going to be busy so that I can be a victim because it's totally working for me. Okay? I don't think we fall there. But what happens is our subconscious mind can get so just focused and used to being the victim, where life is always happening to you. There is just so much that when we're busy, our brain, it's like this comfort zone of being able to say, like, I'm so busy, like, it's just, life is really hard. And you keep further perpetuating the hard by building onto your calendar. And girls, we are not victim to our calendars. You made it. You made it. It's time for us to take some personal responsibility here and take authority, to use a big old word, over what God has given us to govern and steward in our own lives. We've got to be careful because we can kind of go into this. And I also just think, as a quick thing, I know that you and I could talk about all the reasons we say yes. Hopefully we're tapping on something for you girls. But I think what we got to acknowledge here is productivity actually scientifically taps our dopamine.
Yeah.
Right? So it's addicting.
I was thinking about that. I was wondering, do we also get dopamine hits from saying no? Have you ever gotten one?
Not really. I'm curious why you're saying that.
I am curious about this because I was thinking about this morning before we got on here. And I thought, there are times that I have said no, that I went, yes, I finally said no. Yeah. And I wondered if I got, because I got a rush from saying it finally. Not like no, I'm not going to do that. But like, oh my gosh, I finally said no.
So yeah, I see what you're saying, Tammy. And I think that's something that we need to explore because that's what we're here to talk about today is girls, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And honestly, if we're going to get better at this, we've got to learn to protect our yes and grow our no. And that is the conversation that we really want to talk about, right? Because what we're getting at, I don't know why you're saying yes, girls. You know why you're saying yes. And if you don't know and you can attest to, yes, I live overwhelmed and exhausted and burnt out, this is something for you to do work with God and do some self-reflection on. So many of us aren't saying yes because God asked us to or because it is aligned with our highest values. We're saying yes because we don't want to disappoint, because we like being needed, because we're trying to be the strong one, and that has become our identity, or because staying busy keeps us from sitting with what we actually feel. Girls, we could go on for hours on this, and I've seen it in my own life. I have a testimony or 10 for this, and I think all of us do. Let's keep it real here.
Right.
We've all done this before, and if
sure.
not, you could be in a great state of denial.
What? Denial?
That's not a river in Egypt. I just said river.
I know.
Anyways, maybe you couldn't tell while you were listening to the podcast. You thought I said river. I want you to know. You think we're well-spoken? No, I said river, and I'm not editing that out. It's not a river in Egypt. So tell me, where have you seen this in your own life? I know you mentioned a little bit the strong one, but kind of like, what comes to mind for you?
Well, I'm a pretty responsible person. And so there was a season in my life where I had multiple teams and I was not getting enough rest. I was starting to get crispy. And there is a dead giveaway of a clue for me when that starts happening. And that is when I start getting envious of other people taking vacations or spending family time or that kind of thing. And I even sometimes will be like, oh yeah, so nice for you, internally.
And that's what you mean by the crispy?
Yes.
That's what you mean? Oh.
Or I give irritable responses. I react more than I respond. And so, yeah, I can get into that place, but that's a dead giveaway for me when I start hearing myself get jealous of those things. How about you?
And by dead giveaway, it sounds like you've done this enough times that you now recognize the patterns of going.
Unfortunately, that is true. I've gotten better at it.
Yes, but because you know the cues now.
Yeah, but it does still show up sometimes.
So ladies, please hear this. Tammy and I never posture ourselves as like, listen, we know how to never do this again. We're coming and saying we're with you. We are with you. And we still have this as an issue. And we're saying, I need to keep growing in this because honestly, I think this may be the thorn in my flesh, if I'm honest with you, because I have fallen into this trap so many times. And I even this week had to ask myself, was that coming back? I had to do a little bit of check yourself before you wreck yourself for a moment. And I would say when I was in ministry, I guess we're still in ministry, but when I was a season of ministry, I was so shackled to my should of what I should do. And I always say I'm shackled to my should and I was held by my have to. I have to do this because this person needs me. They're walking through a hard time. And that might have been true. They were going through a hard time. And it can get very blurry. And some of you people helpers, as Tammy likes to call them out in the world, right? You people helpers, this gets very blurry because the things that you are doing when you are shackled to, I should show up for my friend because she's hurting, well, your friend might hurt all of the time. And you are not her God. That's a side note. God can handle when you have to say no because of what you are actually called to. And learning to shift this is not about getting to the place where we never care about those people. But in ministry, I was held by this have to. And the picture I have in mind is I remember this night I got a phone call that somebody that I cared about had this drastic evening where they had something really difficult happen in their family. But I had some really hard stuff happening in my family that night. So I was in a situation of, am I going to be held by my have to because this family is going through something, and shackled to my should because I should do it because that's what good pastors do? Versus seeing that, and I'm going to tell you guys, this is a blow it moment. I chose the wrong decision, right? But it looked good because I showed up for another family. But in that, my family paid the price because I was needed at home for what was happening. And I think what drove me and what drives me is sometimes in this could be maybe part people pleasing, maybe part misunderstanding of what God was requiring of me, and maybe part ego, if I'm really honest. And also because in my life, I struggled with both permission to say no and equally with permission to say yes, right? To say yes to my family that night. So there is a cost. And I think there's other costs involved too. And
For
what
sure.
what do you think, what is the other cost that women are paying by their yes? Just real quickly.
Peace, sleep, self-care. There's sometimes a spiritual cost, emotional cost. And so sometimes you find yourself disconnected from God, from people, because you're saying yes to too many things. And so, yeah, our yes can really cost us. And it's so important for us to tune in and say, hey, is one of these areas out of balance? And is there something that I need to stop and observe about this? And why am I saying yes? What am I getting out of this? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I know I earlier, I know you mentioned a little bit about staying power. Like, what did you mean by that? They didn't get to hear that. It was
Right.
off camera, but talk
Yeah.
to me about the staying power that we're missing out on.
Well, we really want to have longevity, right? We want to be able to be in it for the long haul. And so when I say staying power, it really is about, can I sustain this? Can I do this for the long haul? And paying attention to that. And a lot of times we have to put on our own oxygen mask, right? In order to help somebody else. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about.
And we'll hear that statement, put on our own oxygen mask, but let's be honest, if a plane is going down and you are on it, by nature, if people you love are next to you, you might actually try to help them first.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why they rehearse that when you get on the plane. I was just on a plane a couple of weeks ago, and they rehearse it for everyone. Because no, put yours on first. Same kind of
Yes.
things. If someone were drowning, you're supposed to throw them the life thing and let them grab onto that first before you try and grab onto them, because they could help you drown too.
Yeah.
Just out of the panic.
So
yeah.
I know we go through those planes all the time and we miss. Oh, I should probably be practicing this in my own life too, right? Because it's not just about the oxygen mask. It's what are the yeses? What is, and I think of this as even in the, what is mine to govern and steward in my life? What is God given me that maybe I'm neglecting or not stewarding well because I'm so busy saying yes and being, how do I honor my assignment?
Right.
And assignment, that could sound very like, oh, well, that's just for people in ministry. No, you have an assignment. If you are in a workplace, I actually trust that God knows exactly why you're there and who you're surrounded by. That is an assignment.
Yes,
if
for
you
sure.
are parenting in your home, that is an assignment. If you are in a season where you are in a Bible study group or a exercise group, you are on assignment. And we have got to get to the place where we can govern and steward what is ours. Maybe, I don't know, learn to cut your toenails or wash your face, take a walk. I mean, and here's the crazy thing. We talked about dopamine earlier. These don't hit dopamine. They're stewardship. There is no flash or pizzazz or accolades. This is not the sexy way. But neglect, it leaves us with a fraction of ourselves. And if you are saying yes to everything and everybody, you are neglecting yourself and being half of who God called you to be in the earth. And then you want to know why you can't step into the wide open, spacious life. Girls, we need a fresh sound.
We do. We do.
So Let's make a shift. What do you think?
Yeah.
Because just because we can doesn't mean we should.
That's
so
right.
So we'd like to suggest the new sound is to learn to grow your no and protect your yes.
Yes.
Right? Protect
Yes.
it. So what comes to mind when we say this, Tammy?
Oh, to grow our no. Well, the first thing
Yeah.
that came to my mind was, right, flex that no. And you actually
flex the no.
Yeah. But it's just like any muscle. You have to begin to pay attention to where things are not working in order to know how to flex your no, right? And so I don't know. What about you? Where do you think?
I don't know. I think that when I think of no, I think of seasons where no was really hard for me. No felt, I don't know how to explain it. It felt wrong. It felt wrong I think of that night that I told you guys about my downfall. It would have felt wrong to say no, right? It would have felt wrong.
But what would have happened?
Yet,
what would have happened if you had said no?
Maybe they would have had to turn to God.
Maybe someone else on the team could have picked up where you couldn't.
Yeah. And that's why I said it's driven by a lot, because sometimes my no, it can be savior complex, right? Like maybe we have that, like I have to be the one. But I think also that learning to say no, if I'm really honest, there's a little girl story attached to that. Like we talked about in the past one, right?
Gosh, yes.
Of like, I had to start flexing, as you say, flexing my no. It did not feel comfortable to this day, girls. It does not feel comfortable to say no to something that I want to do, to somebody that I love, to things that seem really good to this day. I mean, my growing in boundaries and limits is not comfortable. And normally, and at first, guys, I had to have a note on my phone for no that I could copy and paste when somebody sent me when I knew I was out of capacity and it was the wrong thing.
That's a good one.
I didn't pull it up, but it was as simple as if I remember what it said. See, it wasn't actually my brain writing it. I was just copying and pasting it.
Right.
But thank you so much for asking me. I want to be there. But right now, that puts me out of capacity with what I have on my plate right now. And I love you so much. I hope you'll ask again. That was for a more basic one.
Right.
When somebody was hurting, I am so sorry. I am not available today and I want to be. My heart wants to be, but do you have somebody else you can reach out to? Because at this point, I'm not going to be able to give you the presence that you deserve in this moment. So see, I offered it about love, but that has been practice and it still doesn't feel good. So I had to figure out my no, I guess the relationship to my own no, before I could ever get good at protecting my yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and we have to get honest with ourselves, right? About why it's so hard to say no. And there are pieces in our stories and stuff like that, but we have to get honest with ourselves if we're going to make any progress in this.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we're saying yes because we want that significance in other people's lives, or we want to have in our own self, we want to have a sense of significance. And so we're saying yes to a lot of things when we should be flexing our no.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And God sometimes, and some of you might be in this season, I'm telling you, this was so hard for me to live in my capacity and with limits that God, in his graciousness, when I started asking for help with no, I entered into a season where I couldn't do anything but say no.
Oh.
Right? Like it was like a
so
forced
uncomfortable.
No, whether it's through a health issue for you, whether it is because you've got something happening in your family, like I was forced to say no. And it was really hard.
Yeah.
And now in hindsight, I can look back and say, I'm so thankful I walked through that season. Not that I'd ever wish it back in my life, but learning the limits that I had has been so good for me.
Yeah.
And I have so learned that growing my no is not about becoming unavailable or guarded, right? It's actually learning about becoming honest.
Right.
And that's whether that is honest about what the current capacity that I have, By the way, I'm not God, so I don't have unlimited capacity. And if you think you do, you are wrong. And you have a lesson coming for you if you think you do not have to have limits. And but it's about also becoming honest about what is driving my yes in the first place, the things that we've talked about. And if we don't grow our no and learn how to say no and get comfortable with this, we will continue to have our yes hijacked by things we don't want it hijacked. And then we'll end up bitter, like Tammy talked about.
Right.
We'll end up overextended, all of the health things that we listed. And so the fresh sound is grow your no and protect your yes. And it turns out God speaks to this with surprising clarity. There is so much in God's word about this. And I think you and I have so many scriptures that we wrote down. We have these notes that we work off of.
Yeah.
And I had so many. So we're gonna fly through these. But here, God's truth is here. He guides us in this. So what came to your mind as you were searching for what does God have to say about all of this?
Okay, so first, I just think that I'm so grateful for Jesus' example, God's example, in that he is the creator of the universe. Everything that we see around us, right? And he took time to rest. He took time to say, nope, I'm not going to do any more. That's enough. And he modeled it for us. And then he built in this rhythm for us that we could say no if we choose to enter that rest. And so that is a big thing for me.
When you started recognizing those patterns of rest, and as you have brought God's way, what he modeled, how did that show up in your life? Can you think of a time that it did bring a shift?
Oh, yeah. That time that I was talking about, I actually had been invited to go on a backpacking trip with my sister, and I kept saying, no, I can't. It's 10 days long. There's no way I can check out for that long. And I ended up saying yes. And what happened when I said yes?
Wait, I'm going to pause you there. You said yes to 10-day backpacking trip. What did you have to say no to in order to say yes to that?
I had to say no to my teams. They had to be responsible for a whole bunch of things. And I was scared. I was scared that I hadn't equipped them enough. I was scared that balls were going to drop and I was going to come back to a big mess. And so I actually had to say, it is what it is. And I have to take this time. And I had to say no to meetings. I had to say no to appointments. I had to say no to a whole bunch of things. And so when I dove in to this time with my sister, it was this refreshing time with my sister that grew our relationship. It helped me to get alone with God in the wild, which ministers to me deeply. And so it helped me reset physically and spiritually and emotionally. And of course, you're doing processing as you're out there, and it helped me conquer some fears and all kinds of things that, were incredibly helpful.
That whole story, I have heard you share it so many times. And so I go, look at what that reset. You see what Jesus models. You practice your no, you grow it.
Yeah.
You say yes to what you actually need to say yes to. And God keeps feeding you from the same 10 days over and over and over again.
Agreed.
Like, that's what this is all about. God's way is better.
Mm-hmm.
God's way is better. And, he does. He calls us to Sabbath rest. He calls us to Sabbath rest.
And when we don't know what we need to say no to, sometimes we can pray for wisdom. And God says in James that every single time we come to him and we ask for wisdom, that he will freely give it to us. No shame, no anything. He's just going to give us wisdom to know what to choose and what not to choose.
Yeah. And wisdom has been there since the beginning. I mean, check out Proverbs 8. Proverbs 8 says it's been there from the beginning. And the beginning actually built in boundaries and limits. It built in a no, and this was God's no. I actually put limits and boundaries on the seas. I put limits and boundaries on the skies. I put limits and boundaries on you name it, right?
The seasons.
There were,
right? Harvest and planting and all of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are limits. So we see this all over scripture. And, earlier when we said that pressure of the yes, that this is the only time I'll ever get this opportunity, it's a lie. It's a lie. Luke 16:11. I want you to look at Luke 16, by the way. This is where it talks about being faithful with small things, and then you are given more. And I think that part of the tucked in this shift of a brand new sound might be for some of you women, instead of chasing more in this life, that hunt for significance that this world is selling you, this self-help effort, we talked about it last week, when we said make a shift from living out of revelation instead of resolution, revelation being what God is revealing in his word. This is it. I now take a fresh sound. I grow my no because I'm no longer chasing more. I lean into I am given more. This is a posture of rest. I am given more because when we are faithful with the small things, the assignments that God has given us, the people in our lives that he has entrusted us with, when we are faithful there and we say no to what is beyond our capacity in this season, it trusts God to do what only God can do. And he opens doors no man can shut, and he opens them on time every time.
So true. Let
Given
that sink
more.
in.
Right? And here's the crazy thing, Tammy. Me having to get forced to say no for that whole season because of life, Exhibit A. The cool thing about this is that practicing of no, I died to the belief that I was in charge of my own calling and moving towards the things that God told me that I would do. And my capacity was so much smaller than it is now. And I haven't opened any door, and I am doing more in this season in line with who I'm made to be than I ever did. And it was given more. I didn't chase any of it.
Right.
But guess what came up with it? My capacity. Because my no was a season of God saying, you want me to enlarge your tent, enlarge your capacity, give you more. If you want that, trust me to expand your capacity to hold the yes for what I have you in. I'm enlarging your capacity. He is the God over us. You are not God. You are not going to self-help your way forward, manifest your own destiny. We keep talking about this. This is leaning into revelation. And it's a piece for me to say Psalm 16:6, the boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. They have fallen for me there, right? Feel that for just a minute. And so yes, I feel like that is telling my testimony in it, right? I could go into a heck of a lot more there, but this is it. I'm in a different place because I grew my no. So ladies, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You got to grow your no and protect your yes.
Yeah.
The yes that God called you to.
Yeah.
So, will you take a step? There's an invitation to listen to a brand new sound. You think of, I might age myself a bit, but if you still listen to radio, do you know that you don't have to play, 99.7.2, whatever it is, I said that so that it wouldn't be an actual station because I'm not slamming it. You don't have to listen to that station anymore. At any time, you can change the dial.
True.
There's an invitation there. Will I turn the knob to listen to something new?
Yeah.
So, and can you imagine if women started doing this? Our Wild Hope ladies, let's just talk to them.
Yeah.
We're going to bring this to a close here, but if just our women, Tammy, began to grow their no.
Yeah.
They began to protect their yes. Paint them a vision. What would start happening in their lives? What would happen in the world as a result?
Oh, ladies, can you taste freedom and peace and just a sense of knowing more who you are and not living to impress others, but just being rightly connected to God and to the people that he has brought into your life, and just operating more from that sense of calling and revelation rather than...
Well, that is a revolution.
It is a revolution.
If it's
Absolutely,
a revolution.
100%. But just that, I love to say, just that wide open, spacious life that we will be stepping into because we have that sense of freedom and peace and belonging and knowing who we are. And so I want you to taste that so bad. I want you to be hungry for that. I want you to be hungry for getting to know Jesus more so that you have the freedom in being all that he created you to be. Not anyone else, not in comparison to anyone else, but just who he created you to be. I want that for you so bad.
Love it. And the only thing that I have to add to that is everything that you just painted, Tammy. You know what I feel when you say that?
What?
Like my heart. I just want you to know what's happening in my body here. It feels like rooted. Like rooted. And so then I went rooted and established in love. There is a security.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
It's wide open, spacious. And I don't know how to explain that because it's running in the wide open, spacious life, freedom, twirling,
right,
but also rooted, anchored. Like I'm not going to spin out of control here.
Right.
I'm free. It's beautiful, ladies. And we want you to taste it. So let's listen for the new sound. Change the station, start growing your no so that you can protect your yes. And maybe this week, I don't know, I don't want to promise it, but check it. Maybe we need a worksheet for our ladies of, you know how I said the copy and paste no's? Why don't we create something like that this week to put out with this?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I think sometimes we just need somebody to show us how to do it.
Yeah.
So Tammy and I aren't pros at this, but well, no, I'm going to, you know what? You know how you become a pro? You practice something over and over. So
Right.
I am a pro. I'm a dang pro. I'm a pro at saying no. I'm a no pro. Okay. And we,
Not
as
a
always,
GoPro, but
no.
yeah.
Yes, but a no pro. Okay. Wild Hope Rising ladies, the new sound is you are a no pro. And we are starting a movement of no pro women. And if you want to do that, check out our show notes. We are going to make that happen. So check our show notes. We've got that. We'll also put it out on all of the socials, especially if we have a new social media person. They'll definitely help us with that.
Right.
Take the call.
Right.
With that, thanks for being here with us again, ladies, for our brand new series, Lean Into a Fresh Sound, so that we together can take new ground, leaning into the wide open, spacious life.
Let's go.
See you again next week.
My prayer is freedom will become your story and redemption your song. Now it's time to take hope-filled action. And if today's episode spoke to you, please don't keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, and share, and help us grow this community. Thanks for listening to Wild Hope Rising. Until next time, keep stepping boldly into the spacious life you were created for.